deadliest day for our troops in Afghanistan in 10 years under Biden's watch. The president expected to address these attacks in the next hour at 5 p.m. We're going to take it here, obviously, live on Newsmax. But the Pentagon is confirming earlier that 12 U.S. service members died today, 15 were wounded, and the Afghan officials confirming at least 60 Afghans and 143 wounded in the attacks as well. Retired Army Lieutenant General Michael Flynn joins us now. He's a former national security advisor under Trump. General, I'm sorry to have you join in these circumstances, but how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Carl. And, because I know you've got a lot going on. Number one, I really appreciate your service, your passion and your compassion to tell this story as it is. I mean, when we're talking about the largest loss of life in 10 years in Afghanistan in a single attack, it's incredible. I understand the president's going to eventually come out. We just heard from the CENTCOM commander from a DOD briefing, and the CENTCOM commander had the gall. Okay, General Frank McKenzie, he had the gall to talk about numbers of aircraft and numbers of sorties, and we have Apache helicopters we have ISR, we have all this surveillance equipment. Hey, buddy, you just lost 11. I understand 11 Marines and 1 sailor. I think there's the breakdown that I'm aware of. And then those, and I will say this, and it'll sound mean, but, the loss of other lives other than Americans right now, I am not as concerned about. I am concerned about Americans. I'm concerned about 2 things. The American lives that are still remaining outside that wire of the airfield. And as you just highlighted, about 1,500, but really our country doesn't even know how many. And the other thing that I'm concerned about is that the men and women on that airfield, the American soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen that are on that airfield, trying to continue to fight this fight that they're in, that they have every single, capability that they can have. They have all the rules of engagement in place, and they're not being held back because this is a deadly, deadly enemy. Now, all that said, I want to address what you just brought up. The United States of America by itself, has the full capacity, the full capability, all of the resources that it needs to make sure that not another service member is killed and that we are able to accomplish whatever the mission is that we're supposed to accomplish, which is if it's to evacuate out of Afghanistan, we can do this without losing another service member. And we have the full capacity. We don't need all these other people that are fly-by-nights trying to raise dollars off of the backs of everything else that we've done in this country in Afghanistan for the last 20 years. Never mind and I don't even care. I could care less about the $100 billion worth of equipment that's left behind. What I care about is one. I will put more resources to save one American and I could care less about the $100 billion worth of equipment that is lost to the Taliban. We can deal with that later. What we have to do is we have to have everything that we can to protect the safety and security of the American citizens and, frankly, the men and women, the soldiers that are there. What is a real tragedy for me, and as a commander and as a guy that's done this, as a leader that has gone up to the door and knocked on the door of in this example that I'm thinking about of a spouse whose soldier was just killed. I mean, General McKenzie didn't even talk about that. He didn't even say, "I'm so sorry for the men and women who lost their lives and the families who are now about to be notified that your Marine." They know their Marines came over there to do this job, and now they're going to be notified. There's a whole bunch of places right now, a whole bunch of
worlds turned upside down.
Communities. The world. That's right. You know this. You know the deal. And he barely touched on that. He talked about the numbers of sorties and the numbers of people and how many people we've gotten out since 1 July.
You said, General, there's only one statistic we want to hear about right now. How many Americans are getting out of country? I know you're busy, General, and
I'm sorry. Go ahead. One last thing, Carl. Thank you for having me on and for your audience. You got a great audience. The American government, the American military, we have the full capacity to do exactly what we want to do, not what the Taliban wants us to do.
Right.
And we have got to. This is the consequence of an election. Okay. Elections have consequences, ladies and gentlemen. This is a consequence of the election. And we now have a leader, and we have leadership. In fact, I have called for the entire chain of command to basically resign
Yeah.
Or if you could fire them, I would fire them, because we have other leaders in our ranks,
Yeah.
particularly in our military ranks, that know what to do.
Yeah.
This is beyond incompetent.
It really is.
Beyond incompetent.
General, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your service more than you know, sir. Thank you very much for coming on with us.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you. God bless you.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.